Hey, what's up? It's Mike D here for Mike D's Marketing Mix. And remember, Mike D's Marketing Mix is brought to you by cyberspaceyourplace.com and reputationdomination.ninja. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? I have my whiteboard behind me. And again, it's nothing that you can read or understand behind me, but just to jog my memory. All right, as far as what we're talking about. So I met my wife on the Jersey Shore. Now, it's kind of a funny story because not so much how I met my wife, I'll spare you those details, but when we used to tell people that, we've been married for about 11 years, and we were obviously dated a couple years before that. And when we told people, hey, here's where we met on the Jersey Shore in a place called Sea Isle City, most people, 2003, 2004, 2005 would just kind of say, oh, okay, that's nice. But then all of a sudden, when that show came out, Jersey Shore, I don't know if you remember that show. I've never watched it. I know it was kind of like chewing gum for your mind. It's just such a, watch that show and lose a few brain cells, right? But anyway, that show was set on the Jersey Shore in a place called Seaside Heights. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. And anyway, it is what it is. Let's just call it that. So now, whenever my wife tell people, hey, we met on the Jersey Shore, we have to explain to them. Well, because they say, hey, was it like the show? Well, not really, but we definitely saw a lot of people that probably could have been on that show. But anyway, why am I telling you about the Jersey Shore? Because there's a marketing lesson here. Not so much how I met my wife as far as the follow-up marketing that I had to do to get her, but there's a marketing lesson in a few years prior to that when I was 20, 21, and I first ventured to the Jersey Shore and would hit the bars and the clubs. And what would happen is you would show up at the bar or the club at, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, just really depending on how your day went, right? Because that's what you did on the Jersey Shore. You went to the beach during the day, and you went to the bar and the club at night. Right? So there's an interesting little technique that the local police would use to try to find drunk drivers, to look for DUIs. Now, why do they want to find DUIs? Well, obviously safety, right? But naturally, hey, that's revenue. You hit somebody with a DUI ticket, beyond keeping them off the road and making all of us safe as other drivers that are walking or not drinking and driving, get those DUIs off the road for sure. But hey, it's a moneymaker for the state, right? So here's what they would do. Interesting way they would find what I call suspects. So if you were stupid enough to drive your car to the club, there's all these designated parking areas or the bar, and you'd park your car, and what they would do, they'd walk around, the troopers, the local police would walk around with chalk, different color chalk. So if you showed up, say, at 9 o'clock to the bar, parked in the lot, you would get a white chalk mark on your tire. Now let's say you showed up at 10 o'clock, well, that might be green. Let's say you showed up at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, it might be pink, and so on and so on. And what they would tell the police officers when those bars shut down at 2 a.m., whatever cars were rolling out of there with the chalk mark for the earliest hour, well, guess what? Those are your DUI suspects. Right? Pretty brilliant. Now, they're only suspects if they drive out of the lot and they raise a red flag. Right? They're all just suspects. Then they drive out of the parking lot, and let's say maybe they just get picked out of the hat. All right, we'll go follow this one. Or maybe they do something, they drive a little erratic. Okay, follow that one. And if the cop pulls them over, never happened to me, by the way, but if the cop pulls them over and they in fact are intoxicated, well, guess what? Now they just went from suspect to prospect to most likely closed deal until they get a lawyer. Better call Saul, right? Until they get a lawyer. So it's a fun way, well, not really so much a fun way for the people that went to jail and all that stuff, but it's an interesting way to think about how marketing really works in general. All of us are really working with suspects. That's our broad target area, target market. Maybe it's geographically targeted, or it's psychographically targeted, meaning, or it's by social status and things like that. But it's a broad pool of suspects. And then the better we can, the more cost effectively we can narrow the suspects down to prospects, that's where we can invest and spend our resources. Follow-up marketing, staying in touch, converting those prospects to paying customers or clients. Now, in some businesses, this video podcast goes out to all kinds of businesses. Some businesses, the lead time is shorter, right? But the transaction amounts are less. So let's say it's a restaurant as an example. Well, the suspect is everybody within the area or everybody visiting the area. That's the suspect. And it's pretty quick lead time that they might go from prospect, maybe they get a sample, or maybe their friend tells them about the place, or maybe they just happen to drive by and see it, or maybe they find it on Google, or they see it on Facebook. Now they're a prospect, and then the next day they're in the store eating some pizza. Now they become a customer, and hopefully they stay a customer for a long time. Other businesses, let's just say home remodeling or something like that, might be a pretty long lead time, right? A suspect, possibly a husband and wife or a married couple that owns a home, makes a certain amount of money, and the home was built before a certain year, which means there's probably going to be some renovations needed from time to time. Okay, that might be a good suspect. Now, if we can get their attention and get them to become prospects, or they're searching and they become prospects, now that's where they go from suspect to prospect, hopefully down the line to being a paying customer. Does that make sense? Okay. But here's what I want you to think about how it works. Particularly, this model is prevalent on Facebook, because Facebook is what you call an interruption media. I'll get to the opposite of interruption media in a second. Remind me. So Facebook is an interruption media. Now, don't argue with Mark Zuckerberg. Don't argue with Zuck. The guy's 31 years old. I think he's worth 35 billion. He's got more billions than years on the earth. So, why should, I'm 35, and I'd be okay if I had 31 billion. That'd be cool, right? But he's 31, he's got 35 billion. So hey, don't argue with the Zuck man, right? Founder of Facebook. Years ago, he said that Facebook was everybody's personalized newspaper. So here's a lesson. Beyond the Jersey Shore and all this stuff, here's a lesson buried in here, okay? Thanks for listening. You got to find a nugget. You got to have some fun, because then it'll actually sink in. So the lesson is Facebook is everybody's big personalized newspaper, right? Does that make sense? Everybody's big personalized newspaper. There's messages from brands, there's messages from friends, there's messages from businesses, there's all kind of stuff flying into that news feed, it's called. That's why Zuck called it a news feed, because it's like a newspaper. Now, Facebook just signed some deals with publishers where no more clicking those links on certain publishers. You can actually read the article right on Facebook, right in your news feed. Why are they doing that? Because they know Facebook is everybody's personalized newspaper. So years ago, let's just say you've been in business for any amount of time, and you remember the days of the local newspaper. Maybe you still advertise in the local newspaper, one, because you want to support it, but more importantly, B, because maybe it still works. That was an interruption media. Somebody's flipping through the paper, and boom, they see your ad, preferably in the right above the fold. It calls their attention because at that very moment in time, they're interested in what you have, and they go from suspect to prospect. Facebook advertising is much different. You can get rid of all the waste, because in the newspapers, it's everybody reading the newspaper, and you have to call their attention out and interrupt them. It's even harder to do that. On Facebook, think about it. You can target suspects using all kinds of cool targeting data. How much they make, where they live, married, what they like. I won't get into this so much. So you can narrow down your pool of suspects, almost like the officers on the Jersey Shore would narrow down their drunk drivers by thinking about how long that person was at the bar. Does that make sense? Yes? Yes or yes? Okay, good. So think about how you work with suspects in your marketing and how you get them from suspect to prospect. And then think about the lead time it takes to get them to go from prospect to paying customer or client. You got to know those numbers. And in particular to Facebook, it's an interruption media. So someone's just browsing the news feed and they get interrupted. All right, that's called an interruption media. There are other forms of interruption media as well. I won't get into them now. Interruption marketing is one way. Your message gets through to the right person at the right time. Yes, it was an interruption to their day. They hadn't planned on it, but you showed up with the right message at the right time, and here they are. The other kind of marketing, as Google calls us, the zero moment of truth, is more of a pull, right? Comparable back in the day, if you've been in business for a long time, say the Yellow Pages. Someone has the epiphany moment, they look for what you have. But Google is the closest thing to the pull. Someone's actually searching for what you have, and they find you because your website, your business is relevant for that term. But think about how those two things work, interruption and pull, and think about the line that in your business that someone goes from suspect to prospect to paying customer, client, member, whatever. Does that make sense? Yes? All right, last thing, more life, okay? Life mimics marketing. I think that's a saying, yes? I'm a third base coach, okay? So my wife, she played softball at college for Cornell, right? Me, never came close, all right? I'm probably the worst softball player turned coach in the history of softball ever. But we have two girls, Julia 10, Marissa 8, and this is our second year coaching their softball team because they're actually together because of the age range. But I'm a third base coach. That's what I do. I can motivate the kids. I can have some fun with the kids. But I really love my role at third base. Why do I love my role at third base? Because at this level, we get to steal. We get to steal the bases. Okay, we get to bring them. I get to tell the kids, hey, when you get to second base, watch me. I'll wave you on the third. Chances of them being thrown out at third base and tagged, slim to none. So now we have a runner in scoring position. Now I'm looking for a wild pitch, anything, especially a hit, anything to send my player home so we can get a score. But here's the rule. The rule on stealing bases is listen to the coach when he calls you, listen to the coach when he tells you to go, and the number one rule, don't hesitate. If you hesitate, you're out. If you hesitate, you're out. And that usually happens. I mean, there's a fumbled ball between the catcher and the pitcher. That's how you get out at home if you're trying to steal home. You're out, okay? Don't hesitate. Now, that's a good lesson in business. Don't hesitate. I think it was Bill Gates said it. He said, act immediately. Act immediately and you will most likely not fail. Don't hesitate. Act immediately. What can you improve in your business? Where can you improve your process, your systems, your marketing, your staff, whatever? Know what that is, figure it out, and act on it immediately. Take it from the third base coach. Don't hesitate. All right, it's been Mike D for Mike D's Marketing Mix. Don't forget, visit cyberspaceisyourplace.com. A lot of web redesigns going on right now. We're fixing up a lot of those tired old websites and relaunching them so they look sharp. And also check out reputationdomination.ninja. That's a spot where you could check out our online reputation management marketing system. All right, it's Mike D. I'll catch you next time on Mike D's Marketing Mix. And who knows, maybe this summer I'll see you at the Jersey Shore. Who knows? Take care.